All right, good evening. All right, good evening. Sorry, I'm 2 minutes late. I'm practically 2 minutes late. Oops, not intentional. If you can hear me, if you can see me, good evening. Sorry, I am a bit unorganized at this time. Yeah, we have started a bit late, a little bit behind schedule. Sorry about that. We have a conversation this evening. If you remember, we said in the course of the week, we said on Friday rather that we're going to discuss about public housing. We're going to discuss how public housing 101. Some of you asked us in the DM if you said you'd like to be a part of it, and we are glad to have you. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining. Sorry, I'm 1 minute late. That's late is late, so sorry about that. In conjunction with Rainy Day Cooperative Society, and we're talking public housing. Of course, we are open to discussing any other, to answering certain other questions from some of our other conversations that we've had in the course of the month. For example, just today we talked about, thank you very much for accepting my apology. Yeah. For example, we talked about yesterday, and this morning we made a video about the houses in America and a couple of I've invited Rainy Day Coop, so I hope this is not a network challenge because I have accepted your invitation. I have accepted your invitation, Rainy Day. I don't know why it is you are not. This is definitely a network issue. Oh, okay, interesting. So Rainy Day is unable to join. Okay, so I'm really surprised that um Instagram. So please, guys, give me a minute. Let's add a couple of our co-speakers here. We should not be experiencing this challenge. Okay, so Rainy Day, please, I will accept your invitation again. I mean, ITJ Realtor, yeah, I used your video. My guy, good afternoon. No, good evening. Sorry, I said my good afternoon. Um, ITJ Realtor, I don't know if you're still here. Thank you for joining. So like we said, we're talking public housing. Now we're talking about how, basically how people can get public housing. And we had this whole spectrum of topics or subtopics in the course of um, the last conversation. And this is really, really interesting. I cannot add any speaker. It is not supposed to be. It's supposed to be collaborative, so please allow me to turn off this the video for now while I try to add him. Please for that. I think I honestly don't know. This is quite a every I'm trying to add people as speakers, but I cannot add them. It's if you have an idea on how I can do that, please let me know. I cannot currently add speakers. If you can guide me, I'll be very okay. Do I have been able to add someone, but the person turned off? Rainy Day, there's a challenge. I added someone just now and it came on, so maybe we'd have to use another account. It's not. I'm unable to add Rainy Day Coop. Interesting. Quite interesting. Thank you to everyone who's just joining in. If you remember, we made a video on Friday, and we said we were going to have a TikTok live. We had a TikTok live, and we spoke basically about land management, land administration, and we are basically saying that these are critical things. We talked about how the um, property of the FCDA, the property of FIRS, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, was shut down by the Minister of the FCT. And we said that people, that this thing will happen over and over again, right? This thing will happen over and over to a lot of Nigerians, okay? And we're saying, why is that happening? Why is it that people are being, why is it that you have C of O and the government can still seize your land? Why do you have C of O and the government can still seize your land? Is it illegal? Well, the lawyers have said it is not illegal, um, provided certain letters and notices have been issued. It is not illegal. However, we all know that um, the way the law is interpreted is interesting. So we are saying that when you buy land, everybody is buying land. Everybody calls themselves smart investors today, right? Land management is one thing where you manage your own land as a customer. And then there's land administration, government side, where the government has their own part. The government must get their own part. So this is what we discussed on TikTok on Friday. And we are open to taking your questions. You can type in your questions, and then we can speak to some of these matters. So I'll tell you a story. If you are listening, please just confirm that you are listening. It's going to be a bit brief. Thank you, Big Shoe WF DJ. Thank you, sir. Please just indicate if you are listening. Just confirm that you are listening because I want to tell us a brief story. This is true life. And we're talking about land documentation, a real story. So if you can, there's an echo. Okay, if there's an echo, I'll probably change my sound source. Give me a minute, please. So sorry if there's an echo. I will thank you very much, Dami White. Sorry, I just want to get my microphone quickly, so I hope that helps with the echo. Um, all right. Okay, so I believe that is better. Momo Aquara, thank you very much. So we're saying very simple. I have to tell us a story. This is real story. This is the story that inspired the post to Tech Belief. Thank you for confirming that you're listening. So last Saturday in no echo. All right, thank you. So last week we were, like you notice, we've been talking about for almost 3 months now. We have been talking about public housing. We have been talking about how the former government of Lagos State in the 1970s, um, uh, led by Chief Lateef Jakonde. My voice is lower. Interesting. Okay, so I am not using the speaker at all. I'm using my normal headset. So it's either I turn off the headset or I use the the device directly. So I think maybe I'll just have to turn off this device. If so, please let's just confirm if you can hear me before I continue. Is this better, or do I turn off this and go back to the previous mode? Okay, my voice is just fine. So okay, let's try this for the voice was better before you made the adjustment. Okay, thank you. So I'll just turn off the headset and then we'll move on. So sorry about all of that. We hope to get better. Somehow TikTok seems to be better in processing sounds. But anyway, this is a true life story. This is the story that inspired this particular video. We said people are not houses are expensive in Nigeria. Everybody agrees that houses are expensive. House rent is expensive, house to buy is expensive, and there is no mortgage or anything for people to buy houses, and so on and so forth. Thank you for confirming that. It sounds better. And so basically we said, how do we solve the problem, or how do we participate in solving the problem, so that we don't just end up complaining? Everybody says houses are not expensive. So we're having those conversations on TikTok. Some of you here have joined that conversation or those conversations. Some of the videos have been uploaded to YouTube. There are so it's possible for you to listen and get a bit of an idea. But what we now decided to do is work with Rainy Day Cooperative, and we said, let us find land outside Lagos. The reason why we said we are doing that is because the way to get affordable land is to make, affordable housing is when land is less than 8% of the value of construction. Once your land is above 8%, your house will be expensive. Once your land is above 8%, once your land is above 8%, the house will be expensive. Now do your math. Every house quickly do your math if you can, and confirm the percentage of land. You notice that most of them, most houses in Lagos, the land is at least 15%. And that is part of why houses are expensive to buy or rent. So 8% is the optimum. If you can achieve 5%, by all means do it. Okay, so we have certain locations that we're working on, particularly in Ogun State, close to Lagos, where you can just drive 30 minutes to the airport, blah, 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 blah. You know, all of those things. But for us, we said, let us do due diligence, right? Because Snag Inspector talks about due diligence. If I talk about due diligence and I don't do due diligence, am I better than those that I'm talking about? No. So I do have a couple of projects in that location on the outskirts of Lagos State, between Lagos and Ogun State. So we reached out to one of our customers who had built a block of flats for some time before, and that particular estate happened to have some land, and the land met this criteria: affordable land, and you can do vertical development. 5 floors, 4 floors, 5 floors, which means 4 floors, 3 floors, sorry, which means definitely you can have please give me a second. I want to add some one here. All right, so thank you again to everyone who is here. So where was I here? So I said we then decided that we're going to reach out to certain organizations that had valid land, right? And we said C of O is the minimum, right? I believe we all agree C of O is the minimum document in Nigeria in terms of, thank you, DJ Bichu. C of O is the minimum requirement, right? So we found land that had C of O, a few acres of land, only for us to find out when we're doing our investigation, right? We're doing our due diligence, and they told us this particular place, their land, they've not paid their land use charge since 2011, which means that when you are coming to pay when you are buying that land, you are buying a debt. Please confirm that you can hear this story. You are buying that land, you are buying a debt of close to 8 million naira. You are buying the land with a debt from 2011 to 2025. Now, many of us are buying land with C of O. I want to ask you, the first question you should ask yourself, how much money are you owing the government of Nigeria, of the state? So if you feel like answering, you can type out the answer, but if you don't want to type it out, it's a private question. But I want to be sure that you have all heard that question and you all understand. So please, because this is not TikTok, I would have loved to have more people Instagram is how it is. White Moon, thank you for joining. So I'd like to confirm that you all heard the question I asked in the previous, that I just asked. Can we confirm that you heard the question I just asked? The summary of the story I just asked? Because it's a true life story, it's real, and that's what inspired Friday's video. So if you can confirm if you heard the question, I'd be happy if you can just type and say, oh yeah, I did, or that would be very great. All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Inky Code. So a lot of people have bought land with C of O. the C of O's are valid. Now, you know, I've made a video where I talked about lands in Ekpe, that a lot of those lands in Ekpe are under a Greek C of O. That is one problem that a lot of people don't know. But I don't want to jump ahead of myself. Land use is another thing. Land use, okay, this is land use chart, but land use in itself is another challenge. A lot of people buy land, but they're okay. You heard my question. Thank you very much. Believe. So we'll talk about land use later. That's not what I want to talk about now. But I'm just saying that one as a side. That if you are buying land in Ekpe and it has C of O, you may be buying agriculture, which means if you are not building a farm, the house you are building must not be more than a particular size. But those of you that have gone to buy the land, how if the land purchase? Yes. So how do you know? Don't worry, we'll get to that. So like I said, we went to Ogun State government, Ogun State Ministry of Urban and Physical Planning and Development, you know, to go and find out what house we can even build there, because every state has every state and every area has a limitation. So for example, let me give you an example. If you live in Lagos, there's a project that we have that, when I say in Space Cube, the company that I often sometimes talk about in our videos, there's a project that we have around Yaba, and it's not far from Aba Macaulay. In that area, there is a density. The whole of Yaba, Aba Macaulay has a density, I think, 115 persons per hectare, if I'm not mistaken. 115 persons per hectare. Basically, what that means is that you cannot build more than 4 floors in some parts of the place, and those 4 floors cannot have more than 4 dwelling units, which basically means 3 rooms and 1 parlor. Basically, of course, there are iterations to this. When it's an office, there are different iterations. But the long and short of it is that when you are buying land, sometimes one of the investigations you do is you need to know what is allowed. Now, when we went to do that in that place in Mowe, they now told us that apart from this, you need to know that your land, the C of O, it's true that it has C of O, so we can rest. The C of O is original. They did not sell us fake land. But that C of O, they are owing the government. So you need to go to the ministry, or in the case of Ogun State, the Bureau of Lands. They call their own Bureau of Lands. In Lagos State, it is called the Ministry of Lands and something. I've forgotten what they call their own in Lagos. Every state has their own. It's either called Bureau of Lands, Ministry of Lands, or whatever they choose to call it. In Abuja, it is under FCDA. But it is that ministry that tells you how much you are owing. I mean, how much you are supposed to pay. Because there's what they call the Land Use Act. And the Land Use Act vests all lands in the state in the governor of the state to manage on behalf of the people. That is what the Land Use Act says. And in that Land Use Act, the governor, just like Minister Wike did, Minister Wike can say everybody. Now, I'm currently in Abuja, making this video from Abuja, and I'm telling you now that in some parts of Abuja, we pay 10,000 naira annually, and some parts pay as much as 500,000 naira annually to the FCDA or to their local government, AMAC, Kuje, and so on and so forth, depending on who owns their COO, right? That is one amount you must be sure is being paid, because when you bought the land, you have bought it with the debt. Okay, some people were owing. Wike went after people like Julius Berger, people like FIRS, people like the PDP, people who are corporate individuals, large organizations that were owing up to 40 years. Okay, some got land they did not build, and they kept the land underdeveloped. You know what they say in Nigeria, smart investor, right? And all of those things accumulated debt, which means anybody who had decided to buy any of those lands would have bought with those debts. And when demanded, they would have to pay those debts. So the summary of what I've said is, when you are buying land, we have all agreed, buy land with COO. Don't go and buy land that does not have certificate. I believe everybody here has that basic knowledge, because I believe most of you here follow Star Inspector. So I appreciate you for knowing that. You can clap for yourself where you are. But when you find out it has COO, ensure first of all that it is doing the right, it is the right land use. If your land is in a is not is for agric, and it is not for residence, and you have gone to build a residence there, wahala will come one day. One day, one governor will come. One day, one commissioner will come, just like the commissioner of environment in Lagos, demolishing houses. Because those places, the land use is for drainage. And these people have decided to turn drainage into housing. So what has the man done? He has decided to demolish, and he's very right. The only thing we say is, where was government when they were building? That one is story. They've already demolished the house. The story and analysis cannot bring back houses. So please let us take note of this due diligence. So we said, well, that, we are not just snag inspector, just talking because we feel like talking. We want to take action. We want to establish public housing that will not cost anyone more than 20 to 25,000 US dollars when converted to naira, the equivalent at that time. And to be honest, that is a really reasonable cost. That is less than 35 million naira, depending on what value you are using. So you said, does land with governor's consent? Governor's consent will also attract a land use charge. Any land that attracts land use charge attracts a debt. So every land, before you buy it, find out the collect receipt of. So whether it is governor's consent, whether if it is Lagos State, even if it is only survey, there is land use charge. Every land has an ID in Lagos. So even if it's only survey you have in Lagos, there is a land use charge to be paid. It is in other states, and in Lagos they call theirs what's the name they call it? Someone should remind me. I didn't write it on the board here. I know that tenement rate is what you pay to the local government. Lagos calls theirs land use charge. Thank you for correct. But there's a word they call it. There's a word they call it in the land law. But anyway, land use charge. So every land has land use charge. So whether it's C of O you have, or governor's consent, or survey is not title, but let us just ignore that. Whatever it is, you must find out when you are doing your investigation on your land. Be absolutely sure that it also has, excuse me, be sure that there is no debt on it. Because one day, just like buying house with NEPA base or NEPA debt, you are going to pay that debt whether you like it or not, whether you are the one that owe the money or not. It's not government's business. Government's business is to collect your tax, build a few things, and you know what they do with your tax. But anyway, that's just on a lighter note. So and it's done everywhere in the world. Yeah, so in some places it's called peppercorn rent. So everywhere in the world you pay rent for using land. Okay, it's not just in Nigeria. The only thing is that we Nigerians are not used to paying it, but now it is becoming more intense, and you need to be sure about it. So like I said, we are interested in building affordable houses, 20 to 25,000 US dollars, whatever the equivalent is in naira. And that's what we have been working on. We've been visiting different locations. We've gotten some. We even have a design already about to be approved. We're going to announce it when all those things are set, because I will not announce anything that is not standard. It is not going to be done, because we have to, not just because we want to practice what we preach, but because that is just the right thing to do. It is just the right thing to do. Not announced and buy, and then you've not got it. That's not right. Okay, so in the process of doing all of that, is where we found out some of these things affect a lot of lands in Nigeria, right? And of course, we also gleaned that from the story of Mr. Wike and PDP, FIRS, the banks, Julius Berger, and so on and so forth. So another thing I'd like to mention, like I said, these are the two substantial things when it comes to public housing. So even if you are here and you are a developer, this thing helps you. So it's not just for us, it's a learning platform. Land management has two sides. I mean, land ownership, or the matters of land, whatever you like to call it, has two sides. There's management from the customer side, and I chose the word administration because the government is administering the use of the land, on behalf of people. So the governor of Lagos State has already said most of Ekpe is going to be just like Okwoba and parts of Agege used to also be farm settlements. Part of Ikorodu also used to be farm settlement, but they've changed the land use. But originally, most of Ekpe, you don't need to quote me anywhere, just Google it. Quote me anywhere is not, just Google it and Google Ekpe land use map. Ekpe land use map, Lagos State 2025. I think it's 2023, sorry. I can't remember the date, but just Google it and see it. Same thing for Ibeju. Ibeju is mainly industrial and commercial, with a bit of residential. Ekpe is mainly agric and a little bit of government, institutional, educational, military formations, then a little bit of residential and resorts. Yes, tourism. Resorts are also a key part of what the land use for Ekpe is. So anyway, I just mentioned that. So when you are doing your land investigation, you investigate the land use, right? And be sure. Now, I'm going away from our. So we said that there are two aspects of managing the land you buy. There's the land management, meaning you do your documentation immediately after you buy the land. We all know all of the documents all over the internet. You get your survey, you get your receipt from the people you are buying from, the deed of assignment, you register the deed of assignment, you pay the necessary assessments to the tax authorities, and then you apply for a C of O. If it has a C of O already, or if it doesn't have a C of O, but it is via allocation, you pay for governor's consent to transfer the rights of the statutory rights from the current occupant to you. And then that is what they call governor's consent. So governor's consent is not only on CFO. I'm sure some of you know that already. So and that is land documentation. You do that process and then you can rest. But when you finish doing that, you then need to take possession of the land. You go and fence it. You engage what we call community relation. You talk to the community. You say hello to the Ibale. If it is in an open place like Yaba, where there is no, there must be some neighbors there. There will be people around. There will be organizations nearby that have gatesmen. You talk to those gatesmen. Community relations, right? Right. I just realized that you didn't see the community relations. Sorry, I'm using a tripod that is retired and tired. So that's community relations. So you do community relations. You ask them questions. You find out, hello, madam, what is happening here? What does the governor come here when they are building? The money less disturb. You give people money. You dash them money. You buy wine for them. If it is a village, you visit the Bale. Some of you have bought land in Ekpe, but you have not visited that place since 2022. I am clapping for you. We will see the results. Whoever you know that has bought land in Ekpe, tell the person this weekend, go to that place. Go and see. Sir?
A smarter investor will take
over. Yeah, because everybody says, oh, we are smart investors. Somebody that is smarter than will take over. So this is assignment now. Everybody who is listening, please, if you know anybody who has bought land in, especially Ekpe, let them go there this weekend. Ikorodu too, a lot of people are buying. I'm happy you are buying, because me, I'm a contractor as well. I will build you. You have money, you'll be able to afford me. But go and check. If you've not checked in a year, the land you bought, collect the Baba you collected the number. And if you didn't collect any Baba's number, quickly go and collect Baba and Mama's number. Bale and Bale's wife's number. Omonile that you don't like their face. Collect their number. Go and call them. Is your family. Speak Yoruba. If you can't speak Yoruba, speak Pidgin to them. Find out what is happening in that area. Take picture with that. You don't need to just give them change. 5,000, 3,000, whatever you can afford. Buy them shepe. buy the ancestors something. If you bought land in Ikorodu, where else? Mowe Bafo, Shimawa. If you are not Lagos, whatever part of Nigeria you are in, if it is Abuja too, you bought land in Kuje, you know the people that are in Kuje. I don't want to mention, but you guys know. If it is Buhari, you bought land. If it's Gwagwalada, because it's cheap land. Go and greet the chief there. Go and greet. If it is in the east, if it is in the southwest, wherever it is, don't abandon land you bought. If you bought land for and you have not visited that place, especially within the period of a year, OYO is going to be your case if you do not take care. And you cannot blame the company. You cannot blame who you bought the land from. You cannot, because it is your responsibility. You paid for it. You bought it. If you buy a car, you will not leave it. Anyway, let me not talk too much. So anyway,
No, I think
land.
the analogy was because
Go ahead.
if you bought a car for 10 million naira, you are not going to leave the car without maintenance and expect that the car dealer is one that will come and maintain it for you. So the Ekpe land now, how much do they sell land in Ekpe? Let's say 5 million per plot. You bought one plot there. If you bought a car for 5 million, will you leave it in front of your house and not maintain it? And not vulcanize the tires, change the oil, service it every 3 months, put petrol and all of that. A land is even more a more interesting asset because you can't carry it everywhere you go, unlike a car that you can drive around. So, and you're not the only one that knows that land is valuable. So, if you do not build a relationship with the community to keep that land active and to make your presence known, then you cannot. It will be a tough battle when you don't want to go and reclaim the land. That's the first thing that people need to realize. There's no investment that does not come without its own maintenance costs.
Exactly. Please, if you have any questions, you can type out your questions. Open. We typically allow people to speak directly, but TikTok is what we TikTok and the others who are what we have used to make some of these live videos. So you be invited to speak. Be allocated to speak. Please, you can indicate, but I to ask a question directly so that we make sure we're addresses your specific current conversations, things that you are currently thinking of and things that influence what you are doing at the very moment. But just as we have said, you cannot hold land and not what's it called? You cannot own asset and not maintain that asset. You cannot ask people going to buy land from a real estate company. Buy only the land that you can manage. Apologies, please. That was it. Okay, can you hear me now, please? I was saying
Yes, we
that if we
can.
had any questions, sorry if you can mention specific examples. We've talked about people buying certain locations and so on, and we talked about responsibilities you have with land ownership, and we've narrated a true life story. We'll be happy. Step slot 12 was trying to ask us some questions directly, but I think my device I've tried to add in. I don't know why it's okay, so I can't add him. I don't know what's going on. Or are you there, Abdullah? Can you ask your question? Can you unmute and just you can just ask your question, sir? The lady builder is here. Thank you very much for
Hello,
joining in.
good
Yes,
evening.
please go ahead. Ask your question.
Okay, Snap. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, really, let me just ask very fast because of the time. I really want to know why is it that to access your contact is not fast, it's not easy. Like to really get in touch with you directly.
Well, if I don't you have direct, we run an organization, right? So what we have a procedure for access through our customer service who answer the DM. So if you have any DM, just send the DM and you can definitely sorry, I'm so sorry I'm so sorry this went off. My device just shut down on its own. Was getting feedback and funny sounds while answering the man I was responding to. I'm so sorry about this, please. Can we all hear me? Abdullah Tunji, sorry, you were asking me, and I was saying that we have a customer care. Did you hear me? We have a customer care who representative that answers our messages. So I do not answer all messages. And if you have not gotten through to us, apologies. We'll get back to you. I'm so sorry about this. Please, you can type out. Please confirm that you can hear me. Kindly confirm that you can hear me, please. Thank you very much. If you are just joining, we were discussing land administration and land management, and we were talking about how, we gave an instance of making sure that you are not spending more than 8%, especially if you're aiming to do public housing, affordable housing. Anything more than that is obviously not going to be affordable anymore. And we talked about, you can hear me loud and clear. Thank you, Lady Builder. So thank you very much. So we're just saying that. So we're talking about the lands that were seized by the by the FCT administration. Thank you very much. Where the lands that were seized by the FCT administration, the properties that were shut down by the minister of the FCT, specifically Mr. Nyesom Wike, who shut down the FIRS facility in Wuse. And we said that this would also happen in different states as people begin to, as people owe land, ground rent, land use charge, whatever you choose to call it. Some call it ground rent, some call it land use charge, tenement rate. Depends. Land use charge is not what is, ground rent is what is in the Land Use Act. But some call it land use ground rent. land use charge. Tenement rate is what you pay to the local government or LCDA. But basically, it's the same thing. It is the rent you pay on the land, right? And we're just going into that conversation and telling people that it is very important to ensure that you know what financial deficit exists. And Rainy Day was just explaining to us how. Okay, so yes, thank you very much for that, Rainy Day. So you can reach out to us on that number. Sorry if we have not responded to you via DM in time. So as we were saying, you ensure that you check the history of the land and do all of that, which everybody knows. But you also need to check that the person is not owing the government, and that is what we mean by not owing land use charge. Because if somebody is owing land use charge, obviously the person needs to pay the person is owing the government, and you do not want to owe the government. Julius Berger got land from the FCT about 15 years ago or so, and they did not pay land use charge and they did not develop it. And when you have land with C of O, you must develop it within a particular period. I'm sure we're all aware of that. They did not do that, and of course that ended terribly. I mean, it has not ended terribly, but it has created some issues. They have debts, they have a lot of things they have to settle with the government, and we're saying we can all avoid that. So if you do not have any questions, we're trying to answer questions before the network and my device decided to shut us down the other time. So if you do have any questions, I'm happy to hear your questions. If you want to join as and ask direct questions, you can type us, so I'll add you. But basically what we're saying is that land administration and land management are critical things you need to understand before you rush to buy land and say, oh, I am a smart investor. Nobody is saying you should not buy land. I want you to buy land. Buy land in Ekpe, buy land in Mowe, buy land in Korodu, buy land in Ibadan. Wherever you are in Nigeria, buy land by all means. But ensure that you document it, ensure that you fence it, take possession properly, ensure that you relate with the community, engage the community, and most importantly, ensure that you maintain it, you service it. Okay? Ensure that you service the land. So then, of course, when we're talking about public housing, you can then partner with whoever you want to partner to do your own housing project, because everybody says houses are expensive in Nigeria. And you too, you build your house. If you can give us house rent of 100,000 naira, we'll be very happy to rent your own house. But when you build a house, you'll be able to tell if people are just exploiting people or if it is realistic, the things that they are doing. So I'm happy to take your questions. The recording of this particular live session will be on YouTube, just as the one we had on TikTok and all of the series, Slang Inspector YouTube page. We have a couple of them already on. The others that have not come on, we will put them on. If you have any questions, not necessarily related to this topic or any other topic that we have discussed, you can also please type out the question. We'll be happy to take those questions. We talked about the Bali houses, the cardboard houses. As expected, some people abused me today. It is normal. But I believe that some people understood the core of the message, right? So if you have any questions related to that or any other subject we have raised, I am happy to take your questions right away. And if not, we'll be wrapping up soon if you do not have questions. So I'll just give us a couple of seconds to type out our questions. If you've listened through the conversation today, thank you very much for listening. I believe we've all learned something critical, and I appreciate your time.
Okay,
we'll continue this session.
While we wait for the questions, one thing I'd like people to take away today is that before you buy any land, you need to do your due diligence. It is from due diligence stage that you will know that if you go ahead and buy this land, there is so and so charge that comes or cost that comes with holding that land. And sometimes in counting your costs, you may realize that buying that land is not the best investment for you at that time. It is high time that our people begin to know that there are alternatives to these things, because a few of us have grown up around parents who bought land here and there, and by the time you are growing up, their children are growing up, maybe they bought 7 lands, they can only lay hold to only 2. So the question is, was that the best? Remove the emotions from a purely business perspective, from risk reward perspective. Is that the best thing you could have done with your money at that time? Would you have hired professionals, a good surveyor, a good property lawyer? I mean, we have a few to recommend if you reach out to us via the DMs, to help you do your verification, so that you just don't throw money aside. By nature, we always advise that you at least dedicate somewhere between 1% or 1 to 5% of the land cost on due diligence. That's at the acquisition stage. If you now go ahead, buy the land, do register survey, and all whatnot, the ongoing cost of maintaining that land, you need to ask yourself, and then compare it with opportunities like investing in USD. Why do we say that? Because we as a cooperative have these options available to our members. We are not the kind of environment where we just say everybody go in this direction. It's not everybody that certain investments are good for. So I give you an example. Somebody bought a house a bungalow in 2022 for 5.8 million. And the FX rate at the time was about 500, less than 600 naira. When they bought the house, it was about $10,000. By the time they were selling the house, they bought solely for $8,000. They were never going to live there anyways. The selling price was about $6,000 actually. So for that person, knowing that they were never going to stay in the house, was it the wisest investment to have made within a space of 2 years? People need to begin to see beyond people pushing land down your throat. You need to be aware, which is why we exist as a community. These are the options. Are you making the most of it? We have USD savings program in Rainy Day that are managed by SEC licensed entities. If you now say, oh, I have considered USD, but I think that I still want to own land, then you know a simple spreadsheet would help you see this. I hope I am making sense. A simple spreadsheet, put the cost, and then you see what it looks like down the line. Not that you are making investment decisions just because they said land is the best thing you must buy. So that's something that I want us to know today. And sometimes your funds are short-term funds. We also have short-term opportunities for business in Rainy Day, that we have businesses that we are operating internally. So you should not, just like we advise our own members, you should not pack all your money and you say, I just want to go and buy land. Count your costs. There is cost to land ownership, even when you have CFO in Nigeria. Do we now have questions, please?
If you would have any questions regarding this, we'll be happy to take your questions. If you do not want to ask your questions openly, you can obviously send us a DM. You can send to Snag Inspector directly. Even if your question is for Rainy Day Cooperative, you can send the questions directly to us and we'll route it to them. Send to my DM. And if you have any questions on any of the things that we have talked about, particularly on land and of course on buildings, or if there's any subject you think you would like us to speak on, even if not immediately, we'll be happy to have that. Please let us know. We are happy to have you. If you do not, we'll definitely be happy to continue this conversation next Sunday. We'll attempt to do this next Sunday again, and subsequently every week. Sundays on Instagram and Friday evenings on TikTok. We want to ensure that everyone can join the conversations. There are quite a number of things we'll be unveiling, but I mean, one step at a time, really, one step at a time. But we are happy to let you know that we are not just speaking about problems, but we are working behind the scenes strongly, even with the government, to solve some problems. But again, I cannot let any cat out of any bag. I mean, any bag at all. But some of these things are going to overall benefit the industry, and that's why we chose the name Snag Inspector. We're inspecting and we're coming out with the solution. We're writing the solutions and telling you this is how to implement it. So we're executing. Cooperative societies are not usually SEC registered. Amotex, you are not late. If you have, you are not too. I will not say you are late, but you are not too late. Cooperative societies are not usually SEC registered, but cooperative societies can invest in SEC registered entities. So let me just give you a simple example. A cooperative society is registered under the state government, but can invest in, let us say, a commercial paper managed by a SEC regulated organization and run by a private limited company in Nigeria. I will not be able to mention brand names for reasons we can understand. So yeah, you can send him direct DMs and or you can send to me, I'll forward to him. And then you can do, as we always say, do your due diligence. Ask your own questions. If you can afford an investigator, get an investigator, but do your due diligence so that you can be absolutely sure. This is one of the things that makes people smart investors, because Nigerians just throw the word smart investor up and down, and people are buying land in Ekpe. Like we've said, I've said this, but for those of you who are just joining, I've said it many times. Many of the land people who are buying in Ekpe are agric land. Many of the land people who are buying in Ikorodu are for agriculture. Be sure about the land use before you buy. That is different from the ones that are under acquisition and the ones that are problematic. Okay, so yeah, you are welcome to join this conversation next week, Sunday, God willing, Friday on TikTok. And if we need to have a private session with you, you can send us a DM and we'll let you know how we go about that. But whatever it is, we are here to ensure that we don't just talk the talk, but hold your hands to walk the walk of excellence. If you have, we have our email and all of the other contact in our bio. So if you'd like to reach out to us through our bio, you can please let us know. If there is no further question, we'll be happy to call. We'll be happy to close this live session this evening, and we'll be back next Sunday. Again, remember that we are open to. We're currently, I said earlier, and I just want to say that as we close, that we are currently working on certain projects. We are not at liberty to disclose at the moment, but we definitely want to do all the due diligence to ensure that public housing that we've talked about, we can together, this is not a one-man project, together, corporately, achieve affordable homes for Nigerians. We deserve it. Every Nigerian. Timos, my guy, welcome. Thank you for joining. Good evening. We'll be happy to have you next Sunday. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful Sunday evening and a blessed week.